Hey guys, Tina here. Today I'm coming to you with the second video in a series of my romance recommendations, and today I want to talk to you about historical romance authors. Now the thing with historical romance is that, the story might be silly, but the authors did their research and you always manage to learn something about a certain time or a culture or, just interesting things. And, so it's not a completely useless read or, it's not just entertainment. If you want to take something from them, you can. And that's why I like them. The first author I'm going to mention is Claypaths, who writes historical romance novels. She does write contemporary as well, but I think she's best known for her historical books. And one of my favorite series of hers is called the Wallflower series, which is I think 4 or 5 books, and they talk about heroines that are on the margins of high society, basically because of their age or their intelligence. They're maybe too intelligent for that time, or for some reason they're not married, and they have to make do with that, and they usually have to find a man who is capable of handling them and just seeing through the facade to who they are. And I love that series, and I cannot recommend it more if you want to try it. Similarly to that, we have Lorraine Heath, who has a few series out there, and one of my favorites is Scoundrels of St. John, which is about a bunch of orphans who grew up together on the streets of London, and they are sort of named after they're nicknamed after the characters from Charles Dickens's Oliver Twist, and you get to see them for one reason or another being sucked into the high society and having to learn how to deal with that and how to live there, and meeting their partners, and there's some sexy times. So but of course there always are with romance novels. Why do I mention that specifically? I don't know, but there are. And yeah, but I just love these characters, and I know I had a blast reading about them. And yeah, there's a bunch of other series that she has that are just as good, but this one was my favorite. The next author I would like to mention is Julia Quinn. She, as Kleypas and Heath, writes in the Regency era or Victorian, and her books are just funny. They're just so humorous, and I love to read them. She has a series called The Bridgertons, and the books are all centered on the Bridgerton family, who is, a bunch of siblings, and you get to see their adventures and how they get sucked into the married life, and they were just a blast to read. I'm just going to mention a few authors that are similar to these. You have Sabrina Jeffries, who I adore. Then you have Karen Hawkins, who writes a series of books in the Scottish Highlands, if you want something Scottish. Well, that was not the right accent. And then you have Suzanne Enoch, who is sort of in the same group here. The next author I'm going to mention is Gregory. She writes contemporary as well as historical books. I have to say that I never tried her contemporary work, so I might have to rectify that. But she writes the historical fiction that she writes. It's set into 1800s America, and you have ranches, cowboys, Indians, and all the things that were involved at that time. One of my favorite books of hers is Never Love a Cowboy, and it involves these two families that are, at odds with each other, and of course the children, like each other, and they have to figure out how to reach the subject to their parents, and I love this book so much. I'm just going to quickly mention Joan Johnston here. I already spoke of her in my contemporary romance recommendations video, but she does write historical fiction as well, and I think actually more than contemporary. And she has a series of books as well that are set in America in 1800s, and those were just as much fun to read. So maybe if you're interested in that, you could also check her out. So the last two authors I'm going to mention are from an older generation, and the first one is Victoria Holt, who is she was a very, very productive author, and she has so many books out there that it's, there are many to choose from. And, her books, yes, there's always romance, but there's no sex, this is a different time, and, they're more tame, I guess, in that regard. What I like about her books is that you can learn so much about a certain time and place. I mean, you have books such as The India Fan, who take place in India, and you learn about the British colonization there, you know, imperialistic time, how they treated the Indians, how they were, you know, treated back. You have the West Indian Company that the British actually had, and you know, there's a lot of import, export, things like that, and it's just very fascinating. Then you have Black Opal, which takes place in Australia, and you know, it's interesting because Australia used to be a prison colony for Britain, and you get to, you know, explore the prisoners' lives and how it actually, you know, started to develop in what we know now about Australia, and it's very fascinating. So I really love those books. The last author I'm going to mention is Kathleen E. Woddiwiss. Now, I do not know if that's how it's pronounced. If you know better, let me know down in the comments so I can do it correctly. But yes, she, you know, writes historical fiction that ranges from 1800s America to the Norman invasion of Britain. I enjoyed her books very much. They're slightly more explicit, you know, when it comes to sex again. But you know, that never bothered me. So that's the last author that I wanted to talk to you about here in this video. If I come up again with any other, I will let you know in a future video. But yes, I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in my next one. Bye!